Welcome. Namaste. So today's practice will be one of balance. And in yoga, balance is super important. We're always talking about the balance of our breath to our movements. And of course, in any poses, we want to make sure that we have that feeling of balance or stability before we move into any poses that require strength. You always want to have your balance first. And then, of course, there's the balance in our joints and our muscles and our bones. When we get out of balance or we feel unstable, usually maybe we're favoring one side over another. So it's great to have balance in the strength in our muscles and our joints and our bones as well. So today's practice will focus on balancing all of that, right? Our breath, our poses, and our muscles and our joints. So come to a nice seated position on your mat. We're going to start with alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana. There's lots of ways to put your hands to cover your nose in this practice. So if you've practiced it before, go for that positioning of your hands. But if you haven't, alternate nostril breathing is where you take your thumb and you plug up or cover, press into gently your right nostril, and then you inhale up through the left. And then when you get to the top of the inhale, you plug up your left nostril and you exhale down through the right. So you're alternating between inhaling up through the left and then exhaling down through the right. That's the practice we'll do today. You can always alternate that as well. If you ever feel during this practice that constricted or anxious and you just can't get that rhythm, just bring your hands down to your knees and move into 3-part breath or Samavriti breathing. So come to a nice tall spine here. If you have to wiggle around a little bit, to get to that nice spine, and again, grounded in your sits bones. Shoulders down away from your ears. You don't want to be hunched over. You want to have a nice open chest, so you have a nice openness in your lungs. And we're going to take a few deep cleansing breaths first. So inhale deeply up through the nose and sigh out the mouth. Inhale up through the nose and sigh out the mouth. And one more. Inhale up through the nose and sigh it out the mouth. And now take your right hand and just gently close off that right nostril as you slowly inhale up through the left. Pause at the top and use one of your other fingers to gently close off your left nostril and exhale down out through the right. And then use your thumb to plug up your right. Inhale up through the left. And close off your left nostril, exhale out through the right. And continue with this breath, alternating your plugging of your right or your left nostril with your thumb or a finger, inhaling slowly and mindfully up through the left nostril on your inhale, and then pausing as you close off your left nostril and exhaling out through the right, and pausing. Trying to steady your breathing here, balancing and focusing only on your breath, releasing any thoughts you may have had during the day, any negativity, any tension or stress. This is a wonderful balancing breath to bring calmness to your nervous system. It increases the oxygen flow to your brain, giving you some mental clarity, some greater focus here and concentration. So steadying out your breath, steadying out your in-breath and your out-breath. Maybe letting this theme of balance be one of your practice today. And as you're focusing on your breath, can you balance it out so that you have that same balance in your body. Can you feel that same balance in your body that you do with your breath? And then on your next in-breath and then out-breath, just gently bring your hands to your knees. And now breathe evenly and steadily up through both nostrils and then back down. And do that a couple times. We're going to start to move into some torso circles. So you can either have your eyes open or closed. I'm not sure if you did before, but whatever's comfortable for you here. And just start to rotate in a circle. It doesn't matter what direction because we're going to change directions. But make sure your spine is still nice and long, and your pelvis maybe moves forward and backwards as you're circling forward and back. Try to keep those hip bones grounded and just circle at the waist, really getting a nice stretch in your side rib cage. Using your hands on your knees to really get into those circles, really spiral that spine and really twist out anything, circle out anything, get it out, any negativity, any thoughts that you're having, anything that's not serving you, just really wring it out, twist it out, wring it out, right? All right, and then move to the other side. So if you were going to the right, go to the left, and again, circle that spine. Oh, that feels great, right? Just wringing all that out. Getting into all those nooks and crannies. Again, using your pelvis to maybe push forward and then back. But again, trying to keep those sits bones even and steady and balanced on the ground. And then come to stillness and bring your arms out to a T. Bring those fingertips to your shoulder blade, your thumb on the back. And on the inhale, lengthen and twist to the right, and then exhale and twist to the left. So you're going to inhale to the right and twist to the left, keeping those elbows up off the ground. It's a little bit of a sharper inhale and exhale as you twist. So, and twists are great for wringing out your digestion, getting your circulation going. And it's a great stretch for your sides as well. And twists are just wonderful for, again, just like in those circles, getting out that, rinsing out and twisting out any negative energy, any negative thoughts you're having, any tension or stress, just really get it out here. So inhale right, exhale left. Closing your eyes here can always be something nice. Sometimes I get dizzy with my eyes open. So whatever serves you, whatever feels great for you today. Okay, and now bring your hands to your knees and come to stillness. And now just close your eyes for a moment. Feel the vibration. Feel the movement that you are making in your body. Just focus on that and focus on your balanced breath here. We're going to come to tabletop position. So have a blanket, maybe push it out of the way, right? Hands right under your shoulders, knees right under your hips, and spread those fingers wide here and really feel that neutral spine first before we move into cat-cow. So tops of your feet on the mat. Spread those fingers, pinch them in the ground, lift that core up towards your spine down towards your belly, push back through your pelvis, and then out through the crown of your head. Feel that length. Feel very active and engaged here. Gaze down towards the ground, no crease in your neck. On your next inhale, lower your belly, shoulder blades to the back, gaze up towards the ceiling. For cow, exhale. Chin to chest, round that back up. For cat pose, inhale to cow, exhale to cat. Chin to chest, round that back. Inhale to cow, belly down, shoulders back, and move at your own pace through a few cat and cows, getting that spine activated, getting those fluids going, right? Being very mindful here in your movements, feeling balanced between left and right side. On your next full cow and then cat, come to that neutral spine again. We're going to move into a balanced pose here. So take those left toes and plug them into the ground behind you. Feel a nice stretch in the hamstring. Then walk those right fingers out in front. And when you feel nice and balanced, lift that left foot off the ground as you raise that right hand. Thumb should be facing up towards the ceiling. Flexing those toes so they're pointing towards the ground. Try to level your hips. Nice and balanced between left and right. Breathe here, stretch, gaze towards the ground, no crink in the neck. On your next inhale and exhale, you're going to bring elbow to knee. So inhale, elbow to knee, exhale, back out, straight line, elbow to knee, exhale out. Inhale, elbow to knee, exhale, back out. 2 more times. Elbow to knee, exhale, stretch and lengthen. Elbow to knee, stretch and lengthen. Hand to the ground, knee to the ground. Find that stable base first before you press those right toes back behind you. Peg the toes in the ground. Really get a nice stretch in that hamstring first. And then walk those left fingers out in front. When you feel balanced and steady, lift the right foot up off the ground and stretch that left arm out in front of you. Thumb up. Yes, A-okay. Toes down towards the ground. Push back. Really make sure your hips are balanced here so your right hip isn't kind of scooching up and over that left. You want to feel a nice balance here. And then inhale and exhale. On your next inhale and then exhale, elbow to knee underneath your body. Exhale out, a nice stretch. Inhale and exhale. When you push that foot back behind you, make sure that you're flexing your toes towards the ground. Very active pose here. Inhale and exhale. Elbow to knee. And then bring your hand to the ground and your knee to the ground. And this time, take those left toes out behind you. And we're going to come to that balance again. So lift those left toes up off your mat, that left leg up so it's floating over that mat, right? And stretch that arm out in front of you, thumb up. And this time you're going to sweep that right arm behind you and bend that left knee and try to reach those toes. And as you inhale, push your toes into your hands so you can try to get a lift up from that thigh. Maybe squeeze your glutes together. Breathe here. Nice stretch in your hip flexors. And then release your leg and your arm and hover for a moment and then down to the ground. Now to the other side, so press left or right toes in the ground, left fingers in front, and raise those toes and arm off your mat. Hover for a moment, sweep that left arm behind you, grab a hold of those right toes, press those toes into your hand, really get a nice lift from the top of your right thigh. You should feel a nice stretch there, perhaps. Really get a nice chest opener here too. And then release your foot and your hand back down to the mat. All right, now come to kneeling. We're going to move into some internal and external rotations of our shoulder. So you're going to come to hero's pose, Virasana. If you want to, you can take a blanket and roll it up and put it behind your knees. Sometimes that helps if you have any pain in your knees. If you do this, then take a block and put it in front of you because we're going to bring our hand to the mat. And if you're up on that blanket, the ground will be a little bit too far away from you. So make sure you have a block there as well. And then bring your right hand right in front of your knee and lengthen. So press your bottom back towards your heels. You want to feel a nice length in your spine here. As you inhale and sweep that left arm up overhead, nice opening in your chest. And breathe here, push down in that right hand as your left hand is open. Really feel some compassion, kindness showering out of that heart center. And then bring those fingers to your shoulder like a chicken wing here, right? Then you're going to inhale and exhale, bring that elbow in toward the midline. And inhale and open, and exhale and close that chicken wing. Really get some movement in that shoulder blade, inhaling and exhaling. Opening up that chest, pressing in through that right hand so you feel stability here and balance. And then the next time you bring that chicken wing up, just do some rotations of that elbow, maybe forward and then back. And a release in that shoulder, and all those muscles get in there. Get in there, get all that gunk out, right? All right, and then bring your left hand down. We're going to move to the right side. So this time, left hand should be right in front of that left knee as you sweep that right arm up overhead, and feel a nice stretch here first. So press down through that right palm of your hand and really lengthen and open that chest up towards the right. Press your pelvis back towards your heels. Engage your core here. And then bring your fingers down to your shoulder. We're going to do that little chicken wing thing, right? So inhale, your elbow in towards the midline and open. So use your breath in your movement here. Inhale and exhale as you open up that chicken wing, right? That elbow up towards the sky, and use the balance. Use both left and right side here. Push down in your knees. And a few more times, getting into that shoulder. We hold a lot of tension across our shoulders. Should be a good opener here. And then elbow up, and then circle that elbow around in the front, and then maybe reverse that circle with your elbow. All right, and then release your shoulders. Now both arms, maybe some big circles in the front, and then the back, or just circle your shoulders in tinier circles, whatever feels good for you here. All right, great. So now we're going to move into a small flow. So we're going to come to down dog first. So come to tabletop and then walk your hands forward, press your toes into the ground, and just start to lift your shins up off the mat. As you push your heels towards the ground, your booty should just sort of float up towards the ceiling, just as, as easy as that, right? And then reposition your hands so that your head, your ears are floating between your elbows, and shake your head left and right, nod, yes, no, press those heels toward the ground, maybe pedal those feet out here. Your feet should be hip distance apart. As you're shaking yes, say yes, I'm bringing in all the goodness, all the wonderful calmness, the balance to my life and my body. And as you're saying no, say no, I will not let all that negative energy in, right? So just pedal your feet here, and then come to stillness and inhale up through the nose and sigh it out the mouth. One more time, inhale up through the nose, sigh it out the mouth. And now bend your knees and look between your hands and step or walk your feet between your hands into forward fold. So hold on to your elbows, opposite elbows, and let the crown of your head float down towards the mat, and just get a nice release in that low back. So just gently sway back and forth. Maybe you even sway from heel to toe. That plays with your balance a little bit more. You don't want to lose balance, so tiny bend in your knee, perhaps here. And don't forget your breath. Let your breath kind of release any tension in that low back here. All right, and now drop your hands to the mat Inhale, halfway lift, fingertips to shins, flat back. Exhale, forward fold, fingers to the ground. Tiny bend in your knees as you sweep your arms all the way up overhead and then down through heart center. We're going to move through a flow here. So step that left foot back behind you. We're coming to warrior one. This is an internal rotation of your hips. Your hips are facing forward in the same direction. So step that left foot back and bring your arms up overhead. Pinkies turned and facing each other to really open up your chest here. If you look at your right foot, your right knee should be in line with your right ankle. So almost at like a 90-degree angle here, right? Press back through the pinky side of your left foot. And breathe here, shoulders down, away from your ears, gaze in front. If you're feeling unbalanced, widen your stance here. You're not walking on a tightrope, so make sure you widen if you need to. Then bring your hands down through heart center. We're going to open up to warrior two. So this time your hips are going to be in an external rotation, right? Hips are now along the length of your mat. Your arms out to a T, gaze over those front fingers. Again, a bend in that right knee over right ankle. Press back through the pinky side of your left foot. Shoulders down away from your ears. And then we're going to reverse our warrior. So keeping your feet balanced, keeping them planted in the ground. You're going to inhale, left hand will come to left thigh as your right hand sweeps up overhead. A nice length and stretch in your right side, your right rib cage. And then inhale, use that core to come back to warrior two. Extended side angle, right forearm to right thigh. Sweep that left arm up overhead. Feel a length from your right toes all the way out through, or left toes, I should say, all the way out through your fingertips. And breathe here. And then hands come down to plant around either side of your foot and step that foot back to downward facing dog. Inhale up through the nose and side out the mouth. Then raise that left foot up behind you. Flex your toes here. Use your core to inhale, bend that knee, come in towards your chest, and then plant that left foot in front between your hands. Use your core to come up to warrior one on the opposite side. So here, again, focusing on that left knee in line with the left heel of your foot, pressing down through the pinky side of your right foot, feeling the length, feeling the balance here. Even though both legs are doing two different things, you should still be able to feel the stability or balance between left and right. Feel a lift, a length in your spine. Bring your hands down through heart center and open up into warrior two. So you might have to move and just sort of inch that left heel so it's in line with the arch of your right heel, your right foot. Shoulders down away from your ears. Gaze out over those left fingers. Breathe. Your hips are now in an external rotation, opening to the long side of your mat. And then keeping your feet planted, that nice balanced, stable position here. You're going to inhale and reverse your warrior. Right hand down right thigh, left hand overhead. Inhale, use your core to come back to warrior two, and that extended side angle. So left forearm on left thigh, sweep that right arm up overhead. And breathe here, feel that length from the back of your back leg all the way out through your fingertips. And then bring both hands on either side of your foot on the ground and step that left foot back to meet your right in downward dog. And maybe pedal it out here and inhale up through the nose and sigh out the mouth. Another time, inhale up through the nose, sigh it out the mouth. and then come down to tabletop on your mat. We're going to move into a hip opener to open up our hip joints a little bit more. So we're going to bring our legs into a 90-90 position here. So your front leg is a 90 position, your back leg is a 90 position, right? So it looks like that. Can you tell? Yeah, that was great. Huh? All right, so you don't want the heel of your back leg, your bent back leg, to be too close to your bum, and you don't want it to be too far out because then it will hurt your knee. So make sure you take a look at that back leg and you make sure that you have a nice 90-degree angles for both of your legs. And this alone can be a pretty intense hip opening stretch, right? So we're going to do 3 stretches here with our hips and really bring out and get out all that tension. We hold a lot of tension in our hips, so this is great for that. So as you inhale and lengthen, you're going to turn your torso towards that front bent thigh. And as you do that, you're going to press that ankle and your shin of your back leg and your shin of your front leg into the ground, right? So press those energetically. This is a very active pose, tiny but active. It's tiny but deadly, right? Press those into the ground and then slowly start to move that pelvis forward. Press down into the ground, activate, and press and root down and move that pelvis forward as you're energetically pressing your front shin, your back shin, and your back ankle into the ground. So you get a tiny lift in your pelvis and hold and then release back. So you sort of slide back in your seat, and then your torso is going to come forward again. Inhale, really squeeze that pelvis, a little squeeze in your glutes there, really activating your hip joints. Inhale, press, press, press forward. Everything's working here. And then release one more time. So again, over that knee, press forward, your torso hovering just a little bit over that leg. Pelvis forward, lift up off the ground, press your shin, your ankle into the ground. Really feel that activation. And then release. Okay, this next movement will be towards the center here, right? So you're rotating your torso so it's more centered, not over your front leg, but more centered in the middle. And again, press that back heel and your back shin down into the ground and your bum. So your left cheek, try to press that into the ground first. You're trying to get that butt towards the floor, right? And then on the inhale, you're going to use those glutes and that pelvis. You're going to move your butt off the floor, which will move your pelvis forward and then drop back down. So you're going to inhale, lift that pelvis, that butt off the floor, move your pelvis forward, focus on the movement of your pelvis and how your glutes feel, squeeze open and then down. So you're kind of inhaling and exhaling up and down where we were holding the pose before. Now we're kind of inhaling and exhaling, opening up the front of our thigh, opening up our hip flexors here. It's a deep movement in our hip joint. So again, pressing down through your leg, your back leg, really energetically press back through your heel, your shin, your thigh, your ankle, and holding, pressing that pelvis forward and then back down. All right, and now this next movement will be just this back leg that we're going to be using here. This is a really great exercise for your internal and external rotator muscles of your hip. So you're going to press that back heel into the ground as you lift that knee up off the mat. And it doesn't have to go very far, but just try to inhale and exhale that knee up and down, really getting into and sending love all around your hip joints here. Really activate those muscles. This isn't a passive movement. This is a really active movement here. Press that heel into the ground as you lift that knee up. Doesn't have to go far again. You know, all these movements are help supporting your hip joints, your hip muscles here, really awakening those up, sending some love into all those muscles. Okay, wonderful. A couple more times. right. And now swing that left leg in to meet the right and just shake those legs out before we move on to the other side. So again, those 90-90 legs, make sure that back heel isn't towards your booty or out too far away from it. You want that nice 90-90 in your legs. And then come up to a nice seat, nice tall spine as your torso comes over that front left thigh. And you're going to press the heel, back shin, front shin into the ground. Really active here. Push into the ground as your pelvis moves forward. So you're leaning forward over that front leg, pelvis moving up in towards the front, squeezing those glutes together, just really holding it here, activating, pressing down, but pushing forward, really getting into that hip, and then releasing. And again, so press down, ankle, shin, hips forward, pelvis forward, right? Very tiny movement. So move that pelvis forward. You're going to get a lift up in the back as you're activating those hip muscles, and then release. And one more time, press down into the ground, pelvis forward, let that torso kind of come forward just a little bit here. Really activate, get into those hip joints. Those hips will love you in 5 to 10 years every time you do this. All right, and then release. And now this next is going to be facing in between those legs, right? Just like the last time. So this time again, pressing heel, shin, thigh, shin, heel into the ground. You want to push everything down into the ground as you inhale, and that right glute's going to come up off the mat. You're going to squeeze that pelvis forward and then release. So this will be an inhale, lift that glute, squeeze those glutes, pelvis forward, and then a release. So an inhale up and an exhale down, but try to hold it for a few breaths up. Try to really lift and focus on the movement of your pelvis, how that feels. Squeeze those glutes forward, really opening up the front of your thighs and your hip flexors, pushing down on your legs with your shins here. Okay, a couple more times. All right, this isn't passive, such good work. We're doing great work here. Lift and back. And now this last movement, again, just for your back leg. Press down in the back heel of your right foot and slowly lift that knee up off the ground, off that mat. Doesn't have to go far again, remember. So you just want to support the movement of your hip joints here, your internal and external rotator muscles, and slowly press that heel down and rotate and try to get all those muscles fired up. And just keep going. When you repeat these exercises more and more, your hip joints are going to be happier and they're going to move smoother and easier over time. So put love into those tissues, right? All right. And then slowly come down and bring those legs out in front and again, shake and give them a nice massage. Use your hands to kind of get into the fascia, into your muscles and your skin, and just give them a rub here up and down. And then slowly start to internal and externally rotate your feet until they come to a wide-legged stretch. So my blocks out of the way. So you're just going to rock those feet back and forth, loosening up your hips. We just did some great hip openers here. So rock back and forth, all right, until you're in that nice wide-legged stretch. Now from here, you're going to sit up nice and tall. We're just going to do a few of these, but try not to use your hands. You're going to use your core and your hip muscles here again to inhale and cross your legs into Sukhasana position. And then exhale your legs back out. Inhale your feet into Sukhasana. Use your core, use your hips here to move in and out of Sukhasana or easy sit pose. And as you're doing this, you might find that your one foot always goes in front because we usually have one leg that likes to be the leader, right? So try to alternate which foot is in front as you're moving your feet out towards a wide-legged stretch, and then in towards Sukhasana. So inhale and exhale, really getting a nice openness in your hips here. Another great stretch, another great exercise to strengthen your hip flexors, strengthen those muscles in your thighs. Okay, one more time. All right, great. Whew. All right. Now you can pat those thighs if you want. Windshield wiper your legs. Just lean those hands behind you and just windshield back and forth, back and forth. Okay, now coming to seated position. So I would suggest a blanket or a block here. Sitting up really helps take some of the pressure off your hips. So we're coming to the end of this practice. So sitting up nice and tall in Sukhasana. After, like I said, these hip exercises, you know, this is a little less work off your hips if you're sitting up. So I highly recommend it. And then I just want you to come to seated and close your eyes here and breathe. And come to a nice natural breath. If you want to remember any mantra or intention you set, maybe you were thinking of balance in class today, or you were focusing on an intention for someone else. Just relax your breath, bring your breath back to normal, and steady your breath. You don't want to close your eyes, just let your gaze come down to the floor in front of you, and bring your experience, bring your practice to, and your thoughts to the active movements that you did today to awaken and loosen up your joints and your muscles, and send any love or gratitude and awareness around all those muscles and joints. If you have experienced or have any aches or pains, find some gratitude or softness around those. And it's not always a bad thing. Your body wants you to be healthy and safe and balanced. So if you're experiencing any of those aches and pains, it may just be your body's response to an imbalance. So moving through your practice or your day with gratitude for this range of motion, and sending some loving awareness, some loving kindness towards any area that is feeling achy. I invite you to stay grounded to this experience of practice today. Continuing your breathing, your breath practice here. I read something recently that I thought was pretty cool. And so I want to leave you with that today. It was a quote that said, just because you carry it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy, which I thought was so cool, because we all are at a place right now where we're carrying a lot of heavy things. And so it seems like everything is so great and that we're just carrying it well. But sometimes we have to remember that we have to shower ourselves with some balance, some loving kindness, and remember that we have that in us, that our practice of yoga can bring us back to that awareness, to that consciousness, and that you are enough, and you should be kind to yourself. So bringing your hands to heart center, let your thumb knuckles rest against your chest. And then bring your thumb knuckles up towards your forehead. And bowing to all of you, thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.